All right, everybody, buckle up. We're about to take a deep dive into the world of political science today. And let me tell you, you sent us some seriously interesting stuff this time.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah, excerpts from a political science text. And get this, it's in Chinese.
Yeah, talk about a unique perspective.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to break it all down for you today, all those big political science concepts, and, maybe shine a light on how they actually pop up in your everyday life, in ways you might not expect.
And, it's fascinating how this text, it just dives right into the core.
Yeah.
Like what politics is. It's not just, elections and governments, thank goodness.
Right.
It's something much more, I think, universal. The allocation of resources, power, and values within a group.
So it's kind of like who gets what, who's making the decisions, what matters to the group, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. This isn't just, happening in the halls of Congress.
Right.
Think about your workplace. Who has the influence?
Who gets promoted?
Who gets promoted, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or even closer to home. Who's deciding what's for dinner?
Oh, that's always a political minefield.
Family or vacation.
Right, exactly.
All these everyday situations, surprisingly political.
So we're like mini politicians in our own little worlds, making alliances, backroom deals, vying for influence.
Right.
Without even realizing it. It's like...
It's innate.
Yeah.
It is.
It's like Aristotle said, man is by nature a political animal.
Timeless insight, right?
It's true.
And that idea, that if you really want to understand the human experience, you have to understand power. That's a thread that runs from like those ancient philosophers, right? To, this Chinese text.
Wow.
And that brings us to, of course, power itself.
Yeah.
What is it? How do we recognize it?
Big questions.
It's funny you should say, how do we recognize it? Because we use the word power all the time.
Right, like it's everywhere.
But what are we actually talking about here in this, in this context?
Okay, yeah. How does the text define power?
Well, they take what I think you'd call a pretty classic approach.
Yeah.
The ability to influence others, even when they resist.
Okay, so making things happen,
Yeah.
shaping outcomes, getting your way.
Exactly.
Even if it ruffles some feathers along the way.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
And that actually, it got me thinking about the political scientist Harold Lasswell.
Okay.
And his take on power, which is that it really boils down to decision-making, particularly when those decisions have consequences for people who don't comply.
Oh, interesting. So it's like setting the rules of the game and then deciding what happens if you break them.
Exactly.
And of course, those rules have real consequences. So obviously, whoever is making them, that's where the power lies.
Right.
But I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's more than just the rules. It's like, are there forces shaping my opinions?
Oh, absolutely.
Even my desires without me even knowing it?
100%. That's a really, really astute observation, actually. And it makes me think of, that political scientist, Stephen Lukes. He talked about the three faces of power. And this text actually touches on this. And this is a really, I think, helpful framework for understanding how power operates on, multiple levels, some more obvious than others.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Okay, so the first dimension of power, this is the most obvious one, decision-making power.
Okay.
We see this one playing out all the time right in front of us. A manager deciding who gets a promotion, the government passing a new law,
Right.
even if it's controversial.
So whoever's in charge, they get to make the decisions, even if we don't like them. All right, that makes sense.
Right.
What about the less obvious stuff?
Well, that brings us to the second dimension, which is agenda-setting power.
Okay.
And this one's a little sneakier because it's about controlling which issues even get discussed in the first place.
I hadn't thought about it that way.
A classic example is, think about the media. What stories do they choose to cover? They might not tell you what to think,
Right.
but they can certainly influence what you think about.
Putting a spotlight on some things and leaving other things in the dark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we come to what Lukes argued was, maybe the most insidious dimension of power.
Okay.
The third dimension, and that is thought control power.
Ooh, that sounds scary.
A little bit, yeah. This goes beyond just, shaping the conversation. It's about shaping beliefs and desires, often in ways that, people don't even realize. It's about influencing what people want in the first place, subtly guiding those desires, to align with your own.
It's like you're planting these seeds in their mind that grow into full-blown beliefs.
Yeah.
Without them even knowing.
It's true. And it can get, I don't know about creepy, but
well, creepy.
Think about all the messages that we're bombarded with every day, right?
Oh, yeah.
From the media, from our education system.
Our families.
Our families. All of it shaping our worldview in ways we might not even recognize.
Right.
But, the goal here isn't to make you feel like powerless or manipulated.
Yeah.
It's actually the opposite.
I was just going to say, because it feels like if you can spot these things,
yes,
if you can see how it works, then maybe you have a better chance of not being, a puppet.
Exactly.
So in a way, understanding all this, understanding how these power dynamics work, that's actually empowering in itself.
100%. Yeah. It helps you become, a more informed citizen, more critical thinker, and you can start to see the world through, a clearer lens.
Right.
And I think make more conscious choices about how you participate.
You know what this reminds me of?
What's it?
The Matrix.
Oh, yeah.
And they realize, there's this whole other level of reality that's controlling everything.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah, but unlike Neo, we don't get to choose the red pill or the blue pill, right?
Right.
We're plugged into...
We already took it.
Oh, we already took it. Exactly.
For better or worse.
Right.
So, okay, we're plugged in.
But now that we're aware of these different faces of power, we can be more conscious about how we navigate this world.
Okay, so it's not just about identifying where the power is. It's about understanding how it can be used, for good or for evil.
100%.
Which brings us to, I guess, another big idea in this text.
Yeah.
Authority, which feels like where the legitimate part of power comes in.
Exactly.
Did you say that's fair?
Absolutely. Because power, it can be exerted in many ways. But authority implies this level of acceptance, legitimacy.
Yeah.
It's the difference between someone forcing you to do something versus you willingly following their lead because you recognize, okay, they have the right to lead.
So how do we tell the difference between someone who just holds power and someone who has actual real authority?
Well, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is where, this Chinese text, it draws on the work of another really influential thinker, Max Weber. He dove deep into this whole question of authority.
Okay.
And he came up with, these three main types of authority. Right. And you'll probably recognize these from your own life.
Oh, I love a good category system. Hit me with it.
All right. So the first one, this one might make you think of crowns and thrones and all that.
Okay.
Traditional authority. No. This is the kind that comes from, long-established customs, hierarchies, beliefs about legitimacy that have been passed down over generations.
Right, like a king or a queen.
Exactly.
Where the crown is, inherited.
Yeah.
But it's not always about royalty, is it?
No, not at all.
It could be like seniority in a company.
Oh, for sure.
Or even just family traditions.
Yeah.
Where it's like the oldest sibling always gets to decide what we watch on TV or something.
Right, exactly.
Interesting how, even these really old forms of authority, they still have this power in the modern world.
It's fascinating.
It is.
But then you've got
a
totally different flavor of authority.
Okay.
The kind that, think about those really big personalities throughout history who've inspired, these massive movements, changed the course of nations.
Okay.
This is charismatic authority.
Right. So we've got the steady hand of tradition versus this fiery spirit of charisma.
Exactly.
Right. That makes sense. What's the third one?
All right. So the third type, this is probably the most common one in our modern world. Especially, our very bureaucratic world, legal, rational authority.
Okay.
And this is all about systems of rules, procedures, established positions that, grant authority to whoever holds them.
So this is the world of elected officials, laws, constitutions, all of that.
Yeah.
So it's not about your personality or even your family history. It's about the actual position you hold in this.
Right.
Web of rules.
Yeah, and the rules that define that position.
Okay.
Think about a judge in a courtroom. Their authority doesn't come from, some innate quality they were born with. It's because of the position they hold within.
The legal system.
Right, it's all very official. Well, this has been fascinating.
It has.
We've gone from, ancient Greek philosophers to modern-day Chinese political science texts.
Right.
Talk about a journey.
It's amazing how interconnected it all is.
I know, right? And it shows you how all these ideas about, power and authority, they're not just, abstract concepts. They're playing out all around us.
Oh, every single day.
Every single day, yeah. And the best part is, now that we're like hip to all this, we can spot it.
Right.
We can make more informed choices. We can even, challenge the status quo if we need to.
And that's what it's all about, right? If knowledge is power, like they say, you've definitely gained some power today.
That's right, listeners.
So I'll leave you with this. What will you do with this newfound power? How will you use it to shape the world around you? Those are some big questions. Definitely gives us all something to think about. Well, that's it for our deep dive today. Keep those brilliant minds engaged, everyone. And we'll catch you next time.